Okay, so now my goal is to make you take Cars 3 like you made me take Suicide Squad last year.
Shit.
You didn't even spit on Suicide Squad as you shoved it up my ass last year.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Nerds You're Looking For podcast, a nerd culture podcast that discusses nerddom through various segments. My name's Tyler Hunt, alongside Pat Kuhn, as always. How's it going, dude?
It's good. I kind of have exciting news. Well, exciting might be a strong word, but I'm about to finally cut the cord. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Oh, it took me a second.
Did you think I was going to cut the umbilical cord?
I don't know what I thought. But yeah, no, that is exciting. I did that whenever me and my wife bought our house. We've not had cable, and I haven't missed it at all, except for maybe sports. But besides that,
my wife and I had started looking at ways to save money, and that DirecTV bill was like the first thing that like jumps out at me every month. Like, why are we paying this much for that? And I looked into it because, I mean, we were already getting Netflix and we were already getting Hulu, and I have Amazon Prime, which allows me to have Amazon Video, but I do Amazon Prime because I'm lazy and I like to buy things from Amazon. So I get other things from that, but Amazon Video obviously is a plus. So, I mean, we have all these other services that we pay for. I just noticed that we were watching that stuff more, and my wife really only used DirecTV for, like, late night. She loves Jimmy Fallon, she loves Conan, and those types of shows. And I was like, well, if you just wait a night, you get it on Hulu. She's like, but we have direct DVR, and so she was a little bit hesitant, but I actually found PlayStation Vue has a cloud DVR, so you sign up for that, and it's only, our package was only like $35, which is just basically internet cable, and it's kind of a nice little transition from being used to having cable and kind of cutting the cord and doing something a little bit different. But literally, we added it all up, and we added HBO Now, which I'm going to talk about a couple of things that we've been watching from HBO Now with what I'm into. With all of that, plus we're going to bump up to ad-free Hulu finally, and it was still saving like $50 a month. It was ridiculous. The only problem, like you said, is sports. But I bought a digital antenna, so we're so close to Chicago. I'm a big Bears fan. That's always the Fox game anyways.
Yeah. So
it's not like I'm losing out on that. As far as fantasy football is concerned, PlayStation Vue offers a Red Zone channel for $40 during the course of the season, which is literally the same price I pay for 1 month of Sunday Ticket for DirecTV.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm canceling DirecTV on Monday. All I have is a couple more episodes of The Walking Dead that I was backed up on that I can't find anywhere else. So I'm just going to watch that, get it off the DVR, and then I'm going to cancel it. So I've heard some horror stories of trying to cancel DirecTV. So I actually thought about maybe recording the phone conversation, but I figured that was some weird legal thing that I couldn't do that, but I just thought that would be kind of funny to do that.
Well, we actually received an email from DirecTV wanting to advertise on the podcast, so that makes this really awkward.
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, right. I wanted to tell you, I don't remember if I told you I was doing this or not. Last weekend, I went to Gatlinburg.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that?
Well, it's not as burned down as the internet wants you to believe, but no, I went with my in-laws, and it was Brittany, her dad, stepmom, sister, and her boyfriend. So there's a lot of us, and we were in a cabin and stuff. But we went down and did the touristy stuff one day, and yeah, the internet wants you to believe that it's burned to the ground, and there's only just a couple patches where I could tell that the fire had hit. So didn't realize that it was such a racist little town.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We went there for my bachelor party, and for the most part we stayed in our cabin and drank and did other stuff, and we just went down to the strip one late night and went to a bar, and so there weren't really many people down there. But whenever there's a lot of people down there, it's pretty hickish.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I was I was a little bummed because with that aspect of it, we like walked past this T-shirt shop, and there was this T-shirt with the Confederate flag on it, and said, "There's no need to apologize if you're not wrong." It was like, what are you not wrong about in that scenario? Like slavery,
Losing?
yeah. So it was fun when we were up in the mountains, but yeah, it was a bit white trashy down on the
Oh yeah, for sure. I always get a kick out of it, and this is a little bit off topic, but we live in Indiana. We've talked about that a few times on the podcast, and I always get a kick out of when we see Confederate flags and they have like Indiana license plates like on trucks or whatever. I'm like, maybe read a book. Like Indiana was in the Union, you're not in the Confederacy at all. Like, but that obviously that's beside the point. But
yeah, no, it was just a little disappointing, but besides that, it was all right.
Cool, man.
All right, you ready to get this thing going?
Yeah, for sure. If this is your first episode, we start off the episode by kind of just checking in with each other. We call it what we're into. So what are you into this week?
Well, I was going to be into The Founder, but apparently Fandango does not have the right show times for that movie. So if you're going to go see The Founder in Evansville, you might want to just check the websites of the theaters themselves. So I went to see The Founder. I couldn't see it because I got the show times wrong, and I'm like, oh, what else is out? And I saw Live by Night. So that is the new Ben Affleck directed movie. It's a gangster movie. It takes place during Prohibition. I was surprised that this movie was kind of dumped and didn't really get any like award consideration. I guess technically they probably did like a small release, so it could be, but you know what it boiled down to is it was a January movie now, and it's not doing great on Rotten Tomatoes. It didn't get any nominations for anything, so I was just surprised by that because, you know, Ben Affleck's directorial efforts, if he's had a good track record. So everything about this movie, you know, looked good on paper. It's a period piece. The way it was shot, the actors in it, everything looked like it would add up, but it did not, and I was curious to see why. And it was very apparent why it was skipped over as I started to watch it. It starts off pretty promising. It's in Boston. It's kind of building up to be like a cool urban period piece, but things quickly change, and the story ends up predominantly taking place in Florida, which I didn't realize, which is a very weird choice for a movie like this. You don't see many period gangster films that take place in Tallahassee, Florida, or wherever the fuck they are, and it doesn't work. It doesn't feel like a gangster movie, and it doesn't feel fresh. If that's what Affleck was going for. Like, we've seen tons of gangster movies that take place in urban cities and New York, Boston, whatever. And I don't think anybody was, you know, jonesing for a Florida gangster movie from Prohibition era. I won't get too much more into the plot to avoid spoilers because there are a few twists and turns in the movie and so on and so forth. But this movie was trying to be a million different things, but it didn't want to commit to any of them. It seemed like it had a lot of small stories within the movie, maybe something like The Godfather did, but it did not work like that. It didn't work plot-wise. The movie starts off setting up a revenge plot at the beginning, and then that plot line isn't touched on again until the end, so everything in between doesn't really feel like it fits. It doesn't captivate you because you're just waiting to see, you know, how Ben Affleck's character is going to get his revenge, and you're waiting for that thread to pick back up. And it's not even touched on for most of the movie until the end. It's really weird. This movie also suffers from multiple endings. So you keep thinking it's going to stop, and it just keeps on going. And then there's this like final, you think the movie's over, and then there's a final PS that's completely unnecessary. And again, I won't get into it because it's really spoiler heavy, but very unnecessary and pretty depressing. The only thing that I will say about this movie that was really good was the performances. Like, Affleck does fine. The standout for me was Zoe Saldana's in it, and she's great. And then Sienna Miller knocked it out of the park. Like, her and Ben Affleck had a lot of great chemistry at the beginning of the movie. And I don't know, I could see her maybe like showing up in his Batman movie as Selena Kyle or something, because she really killed it, and I didn't realize she was such a great actress. I'm just not as familiar with her work, I guess. But yeah, Live by Night. I would say watch it whenever it's on Netflix or something. Like, give it a go, but it is very disappointing for sure.
Isn't it like almost 3 hours long or something ridiculous?
No, it wasn't very long. It was 2 hours 9 minutes.
Maybe I was thinking of something else, but I was curious how long in your description of this movie it was going to take you before you mentioned Batman.
Yeah. Well, I actually, it was kind of disappointing because, he's been doing press for this movie and, he said nobody was asking about Live by Night, but everybody asked about Batman, and so that's what makes it like this, blah, blah, blah. Script's got to be perfect. And it's, before I saw this movie, I was like, oh, I trust Ben Affleck. He'll make a perfect script, but if this was his perfect Live by Night script, no, not so much. So, hopefully Jeff Johns brings a little bit more to that outing.
Yeah, but I could understand like why he's getting upset though.
Oh,
like,
I completely understand.
I posted this the other day on Instagram. It seriously pissed me off. Like I go to IGN. I also do comicbook.com, and I go to all those different sites.
Yeah.
It seems like every couple hours, depending on how slow we are at work. And I watched a video on IGN about this interview, and he was answering questions about Batman. And then literally I went to comicbook.com, and there was 3 separate stories taken from literally that 2 minutes of the interview. Like, it was probably 30 minutes, and 2 minutes of it was about Batman, and they made 3 separate stories. Now, granted that I understand that website's not going to talk about Live by Night, because that's not a type of movie that they're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But it wasn't 3 separate stories worth of information. It was really bad, and that's the reason why he gets pissed that people keep asking him about it.
No, I completely agree with you there. Like, it's like the clickbait news is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's disappointing because I, like you, expect him to do well. Like, I don't think much of him as an actor. I think he gets a little bit more shit than I think he necessarily deserves. But I think as a writer and a storyteller and a director, I think he's phenomenal. And to find out that he didn't do a very good job with this movie is kind of disappointing, because I saw the trailer and I was like, this doesn't look good to me at all. But then I was like, oh, he directed this, then it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And then the reviews started coming out, and plus you mentioned that it came out in January.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, that's never a good, like, we should have already heard about this movie if it was going to be one of those Oscar bait types of movies. Mm-hmm. And I heard about it a month before it came out, and it came out in January, which is typically a dumping ground. So I was not surprised that the reviews weren't that great. I think it's at like 30-some% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's about, like, it's about where The Accountant is, I believe. And I mean, The Accountant's a movie that we reviewed on the podcast. And if I had to choose between the two, I'd probably choose Live by Night.
Okay.
But
which is surprising, because I think you liked The Accountant a lot more than I did.
Yeah, I did. And you know what's funny is now that The Accountant's out, and I don't mean to go on a tangent, but now that The Accountant's out on Blu-ray, people are starting to like see it at home and stuff, or on demand or whatever, and people at work keep on saying, "Oh my God, I just watched The Accountant and I really liked it." It's like, well, not many people did, and you and I are amongst the few. So,
yeah, I had another point, and I completely just spaced on it. I read an article on IGN that this movie lost like $75 million or something crazy. Like, nobody is seeing it. Not The Accountant, Live by Night.
Yeah, I would imagine a ton of money goes into making it a period piece, like just making sure everything's accurate and getting the old cars and so on and so forth. So
for sure,
that makes sense. Anyways, dude, what are you into?
Like I mentioned, I am going to talk about 2 different things that I watched recently on HBO Now. One, actually, you brought up previous when it first got released. That is Vice Principals, which is a comedy. It stars Danny McBride and Walter Goggins, who star as 2 vice principals who hate each other and are obsessed with getting the vacant principal job. When that job goes to someone else, they team up to unseat that person. I don't know if I've talked too much about this on the podcast, but I actually have a teaching license. I only student taught. I didn't actually get a professional job in the field. Student teaching was kind of enough for me, but I've actually been in that situation. I've obviously seen public high school from the student perspective. I also seen it from the teacher perspective. And so I related to a lot of these different characters, and because I've been in this situation before. So I actually thought it was really funny to a point, this show, because I felt like it was funny, but the writing tended to rely on the kind of the shock factor of the students or the teachers kind of cursing at the students.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cursing in this show, obviously being HBO, and I just felt like that was kind of lazy writing a little bit. Like there wasn't that much like setup punchline or bit that they were going on. It was just like, oh, look how ridiculous it is for this person to curse at this little kid. And so I just thought that they kind of relied on that a little bit too much. But I thought that this show was entertaining, mostly because of the energy of the co-stars. Danny McBride, who is kind of an acquired taste. I'm not a huge fan of him, but I am a big fan of Walter Goggins, and I thought they played off each other really well. I love the fact that Walter Goggins' character in this is very feminine, but then he has this smoking hot wife, and so I just thought that was kind of funny. But and I actually was surprised at how much I liked the development of the characters. I mean, it being a comedy, I didn't really think that it would kind of play at your heartstrings a little bit, but it definitely does. These aren't very likable characters, especially at the beginning, but then you kind of peel back the layers a little bit and you kind of find out a little bit more about the characters and you start to kind of root for them, but you're also conflicted because they do the same thing with the principal. And so you kind of feel bad for her too. And so it's definitely conflicted, but I like this show quite a lot. I was definitely happy that they're deciding to call it quits after 2 seasons. I'd actually read that they shot the entire, it's only going to be 18 episodes. They shot the entirety of those 18 episodes at once, and they're just going to release it as 2 seasons. I really like that idea of them just, and I think I've talked about this before on the podcast, just this is the story. This is the only story that they want to tell. They're going to tell it, and then that's going to be it, and they're not going to drag it out, because I know we've talked a lot about shows that have kind of overstayed their welcome, and this show is definitely not doing that. And plus, if they didn't have a second season, that cliffhanger at the end would be really, really weird. But, I mean, it was super weird to begin with.
It was very weird.
But I'm definitely looking forward to the second season of this show, because even though it wasn't perfect, I still found a lot of humor in it, and I was surprised at how much heart it had.
Yeah, for sure. Like I mentioned when I brought it up, that it's a show that I really liked quite a bit, and I think I agree with you that Walton Goggins is definitely the standout.
Yeah, and he kind of, there's a couple episodes where, especially in the middle, where he kind of disappears a little bit, but I mean, it makes sense within the story.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit disappointed with that, but I mean, like I said, it kind of made sense within the flow of the story. But I'm definitely looking forward to season 2.
Cool, man.
All right, so the second thing, I'll be real quick with it, because I didn't honestly like it that much, is Beware the Slenderman, which is a true crime documentary that explores the cult behind Slenderman and how the belief in his existence led 2 teenage girls to attempt murder. This film kind of combines 2 of my favorite genres, horror and true crime documentaries. I love true crime documentaries. This movie could have explored so many different themes. It could have talked about the impact of internet on young minds, the impact of technology on young minds, kind of focus on more on the case, or maybe talk about bullying and mental illness, etc., etc. Unfortunately, this film couldn't decide on which one they wanted to talk about, so they just decided to talk about all of them. And it was kind of a mess. Like, there was bits and pieces of this movie that I liked. I really liked the part of them kind of exploring the cult, because I knew a little bit about Slender Man, but I'm not a teenager, so I don't like get into all of that stuff. But I mean, I am a horror fan, so I kind of liked that idea of just people creating this myth and kind of building off just others, like adding stories and stuff like that to the myth. And they made a pretty cool indie game a while back based on this character that's kind of fun. Unfortunately, this movie was just, like I said, it was just really weird. Like, they didn't have a focus. And it also hurt that they just had some really weird shots. Like, the movie's almost 2 hours long, and there's just no reason for that. Because at this point, the attempted murder happened, I think, late in 2014. So it hasn't been that long. And for those that do watch a lot of true crime documentaries, you know that murder trials take a long time. So they literally haven't even started the trial, and this movie's already out. So that was a little bit disappointing. So you didn't get a ton about the case because they haven't really even began the trial yet. But I mean, the girls have already admitted to doing it, so there's not going to be a ton of trial. It's whether or not they're going to get their entire lives in prison. Most of this documentary focused on whether or not they were going to be tried as adults or not. But the thing that I enjoyed about the movie, one of the few things that I enjoyed, was just kind of, like I said, exploring the cult and how it came to be and how people have just kind of clung to it and kind of added more mythology to it. And it was kind of, that was really interesting. Like, it literally started as a Photoshop contest, and it just kind of spiraled from there, and people have added to it, and these girls just became so obsessed with it that they wanted to prove themselves worthy to the Slender Man, and they tried to kill one of their friends, which obviously is really sad. They didn't really focus too much on the case. It was more about, like, the girls, and they didn't, like I said, they just didn't really have a clear directive on what route they wanted to go, and it kind of just fell off the rails.
Yeah, the Slender Man, I know you had watched this movie because I follow you on Letterboxd, and
I don't follow you.
I think you.
I didn't for a long time.
I just use it as a diary at this point. But anyways, I didn't realize this was a documentary. I thought it was like a horror movie made for HBO based on this character. And this is a character that I've never really gotten. I guess I was just too old whenever it started popping up on the internet. But, whenever you started describing it, it definitely sounded intriguing. But I don't know that I'll dedicate any time to it because it sounds like you were less than thrilled with it.
Yeah, there's a really good documentary within the all of the footage that they shot. It was just really weird the way they put it together. Like, there's just some weird shots. Like, there's literally a shot in the courtroom that my wife and I just looked at each other and laughed because there's a shot and it shows the girls and then it cuts to the judge and he literally takes a sip of water and then they cut back to the girls. Why the fuck is that shot of him taking a sip of water in there? And it's not 2 hours of that, of course, but it's just like there's 10 or 12 of those just weird shots in the movie, and all that stuff adds up, and it's really weird. Some of the stuff that they chose to put in this movie, and like I said, for like the 100th time now, it just didn't have its clear directive, and it just rambled.
Huh. It'd be interesting to kind of follow that trial, but
for sure.
I will probably not do that.
No, I'm still following the making a murderer trial. That's getting kind of weird.
Yeah, and I think they're doing a season 2 of that.
Yeah,
right?
they are.
Yeah, that's so fucked up. Still,
yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's the better true crime drama. It sounds like so.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man, you ready for comics?
Yeah, what'd you read this week?
So I'm gonna talk briefly about 2 different things because I.
No, you can't do that after I just did that.
No, we discussed a couple episodes ago how we were both super behind on our comics, so I've been trying to get caught up here and there, and I just happened to get caught up with 2 different books I read this week. So briefly, I will talk about Renew Your Vows.
Okay.
So I believe that either you or I brought it up, issue 1. I think you did.
I talked about it, yeah.
So since then, issues 2 and 3 have come out. And I am really digging the first 3 issues of this book. Renew Your Vows was definitely my favorite part about Secret Wars and the highlight of Secret Wars for me because if you recall, I did not like that event comic. I do wish that there was an explanation for where this takes place in the Marvel comic universe. But if they're just like doing this as a standalone story, it's really fun, especially if that's just what it's meant to be. The storytelling in these first 3 issues is killer. Each issue tells the same timeline from each character's point of view. So you have first issue's Peter, the second issue's MJ, and then the third issue's their daughter, Annie, I believe. and I don't know, just seeing how they all get to where each end of the comic ends up with the Mole Man is really cool to see, and it's kind of fun to hear each character's inner dialogue and what's driving them to do this or that. And when you get the first issue, I was curious like why MJ had these powers, and then the second issue through MJ's inner dialogue, you kind of find out why she does and see what's going on, and you get a bigger piece, or a piece of the puzzle that's happening within this book. So I really appreciated the storytelling, and I'm excited to see where this book goes. I'm interested to see how many issues it goes, how many issues it's meant to be, if it's going to be ongoing or if it's a miniseries. I haven't really heard much about it, but I'm more invested in this right now than I am in the main Amazing Spider-Man comic, for sure. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I thought you were done. Yeah, this is a book that I read the first issue. I brought it up on the podcast, and I really dug it. I have not gotten around to reading the second or third issue just because, like I've mentioned a couple times, I got super, super behind on everything. So I haven't read the second or third issue. I'm a little bit nervous now that you said that, because I'm not a huge fan of the different perspective type of storytelling, because I think maybe with only 3 characters it's fine, but I've seen films like Vantage Point kind of comes to mind, where you see the same thing over and over and over again. It's just like, I've seen this story. I mean, it's cool to see it from different perspectives, but I think that's kind of boring at times. But it sounds like they did a good job with it.
Yeah, I would say the only part of the story that you see like 3 different times is the last couple pages.
Okay.
They actually get to Mole Man, because each character is like living their day in different areas of New York. So what MJ does for the first 2/3 of the book is no correlation to what Peter.
You haven't seen it. Yeah.
So it does work. Maybe the last few issues get repetitive for you, or the last few pages get repetitive for you. But I really liked how they did it.
Cool, man.
The next comic I want to talk about, I hate to play into my apparent stereotype, but it's the main Batman comic. I talked about I Am Suicide, it's been about 4 or 5 issues ago, maybe even more. And since I last talked about it, I Am Suicide wrapped up, and I just finished reading that. And that led into a 2-part Catwoman Batman story called Rooftops, which I really enjoyed, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, is because I liked it so much. So Catwoman is the only Batman love interest that I've rooted for. He's such a brooding character, and he's such a loner that anytime that he gets, like in Detective Comics, he has the big group of characters that's on his team or whatever. I don't really like it. I don't, as much as I do like DC and I appreciate the Justice League, I would rather see Batman on his own instead of as a part of that group. But for some reason, when it comes to Catwoman, I really love the relationship and the dynamic between those 2 characters. It's pretty much doomed every time they meet up and they try to be together, but you root for it anyways. When I first started talking about I Am Suicide a long time ago, I was upset with what they did with some of the aspects of the Catwoman character, if you recall. In particular, her killing 237 people. That kind of, I don't want to say gets rectified, but things kind of get explained through this 2-parter. And course corrected some things, and I'm curious if that was the plan all along, or if the fan outlash kind of pushed them to go in that direction. One thing I really like about the second part of this 2-part comics is that, these characters have a lot of history together, through many different character arcs, whether it's Hush or various others, and each of them reminisce about the first time they met. So when Batman reminisces about the first time he meets Catwoman, the art shifts to like the Bob Kane comic. I think it's Batman 40, where they first meet each other, and he recalls that moment. And then when Catwoman does it, she recalls their first meeting from year 1, which is much more violent. And it's just kind of cool to see how those 2 characters think of one another. And to me, the writer doing that, I'm sorry, I forget his name. I think his last name's King. To me, it's kind of a wink to the reader. It's him telling us, like, all of their history matters, and timelines are a little crazy, but, it all matters, and you can kind of create your own timeline because they're both remembering things different. So overall, without getting into too many spoilers on what ends up happening with the characters, it's a very satisfying two-parter with amazing art as well, because a lot of this takes place at night, and I don't know the artist's name, and I apologize, but he uses some shades of blue that are amazing and really makes this comic, I'm going to hate myself for saying this, it makes this comic pop. But it's really good.
Yeah, again, this is another one that I'm kind of far back on. But I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the new run of Batman. Like, I really wanted to like it, and I have liked some story arcs, but recently it's been more miss than hit for me.
Yeah, I really didn't like the Gotham girl. And
yeah, we've talked about it. I liked it.
Yeah, did we?
I didn't like the conclusion to it,
yeah.
But I liked those characters because Batman has always been in Gotham. Like, there hasn't been a superhero per se, like, having actual superpowers in Gotham.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they were superhumans, metahumans, in Gotham, and they couldn't take it. Like, it just shows how strong Batman is mentally. So I like that aspect. I don't like the psycho pirate stuff. I just don't think he's an interesting character. I just thought that it kind of fizzled at the end, but I liked the dynamic between the characters.
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
All right, so the comic that I read, again, I know I'm saying this for like the 5th time or whatever, but I'm super far behind, and so I decided to read a book that unfortunately is considered like one of the best Wolverine stories ever. I never read it. I kind of knew what it was about, but I never actually experienced it for myself. That is Old Man Logan.
Okay.
It's written by Mark Millar, which is a writer that we've talked a lot about. It was an 8-issue run back in 2008. It follows Logan, aka Wolverine, in a post-apocalyptic world after he gave up his superhero alter ego. It is the inspiration, sort of, for the new Wolverine movie, Logan. I bought it on Comixology. It's actually 196 pages. And I saw that number and I was like, oh, well, I bought it earlier this week. I was like, we're recording on Friday. I'll talk about this book. And I was like, I'll just read it a little bit here and there as the week goes on. And I literally sat down, and the first time I sat down, I just read the whole thing.
Oh, yeah?
Because I literally couldn't put it down.
That's awesome.
There were so many moments that I'm just like, this is so fucking cool. Like, it happens on a different Earth or whatever. Marvel does that where they have different Earths. And so sometimes when I know that, it's like, okay, well, none of this actually matters. But it was so cool. The stuff that was happening was so cool that I didn't care. And Mark Millar knew that none of this really mattered, so he kind of got to do whatever he wanted, and it was just really, really fun. Like I said, I just couldn't put it down. I wanted to just stay in this world. It was so fun. There was a couple of things here and there that dragged on a little bit, but for the most part, I just thought it was just a really cool kind of mashup of really all the Marvel Universe coming together. And you see a lot of different really, really big Marvel characters in this book. And it's just really fun because, again, it's happening on this other Earth that doesn't really affect the main Marvel story arc at the time. So he could kind of have fun with it. I will say that I'm not sure exactly how this is going to inspire the movie because Fox doesn't have the license to all these characters, because like Hawkeye's a big player in this world, Red Skull's a big player, the Hulk is a big player, and he has a weird role in this whole thing. So I don't know how exactly it's going to inspire the movie. I think it's going to be the fact that this is an inspiration to the movie is kind of a very loose inspiration, because a lot of these characters obviously can't be in the movie. I thought maybe, because obviously Professor Xavier's in Logan, I thought maybe he would play the Hawkeye character, sort of, but I guess that remains to be seen.
I think that the only way Fox is utilizing that story as backstory is they made Hugh Jackman's hair gray.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just don't trust Fox, and they seem to be the the masters of saying, taking a famous comic book and not really doing the same stuff with it.
Yeah. Have you read Old Man Logan?
No, but now I really want to.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. It's great.
Yeah, I almost got on Amazon just as you were talking about it and bought it because you made it sound really good. So, I'm definitely going to check it out, hopefully before Logan hits theaters.
Cool, man.
So every week we talk about the big nerd headlines. There was actually some decent stuff since the last time we talked. So I'll go ahead and dive in. Let's see here. What do I want to start with? Let's start with the Terminator. This was surprising to me. So apparently, I guess the rights to Terminator revert back to James Cameron in a few years.
Yep.
And he is planning on not directing or being like at the helm of a new Terminator movie, but he's going to kind of oversee a Terminator movie directed by Tim Miller, who did Deadpool. And there's not much more info besides that, but the rumor mill, I guess, is saying that it will connect more directly to his original two movies and will wrap things up, because obviously Terminator 3, Terminator...
Salvation?
Why did I want to say Genesis? Oh, because that's
Genesis
the one after that.
Yeah.
Either way, all three of those movies blew. And
Salvation wasn't bad.
All right, I'll agree with that. Salvation isn't as bad as the other two, but yeah, they just weren't what people were looking for, and he's gonna, I guess, oversee some closure that he's okay with. Because I mean, in a way, Terminator is kind of his baby.
So it reverts back to him no matter what. It's not like that Fantastic Four bullshit, like they have to make a movie every so often.
Yeah, I guess it's just like he signed it's like a 30 or 35 year thing. It must be 35 years after, for whatever reason. I don't know what kind of bullshit contract this was, but yeah, 35 years after the first movie that goes back to him.
So why the fuck did we get that hot mess that is Genesis if they couldn't, you weren't going to be able to put out another movie. Well, maybe at the very tail end of that contract, They might have been able to sneak another one in there, but
I just, even though we can be optimistic and it's like, oh, it's back in James Cameron's hands, I don't see how this ends well.
No, I mean, I don't think that, he's going to make a movie that kind of pretends that the other ones don't exist. But I don't see how we can go in there and not think of the other movies. Like, you made two really bad Terminator movies and one mediocre Terminator movie without him. I don't think that fans of the franchise are going to be able to go into this movie and not think about those.
Yeah, I agree. You just can't ignore them.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens. I don't know. Let's see. There is a short list of actors that are, I guess, candidates to play Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps. I guess the premise of the movie, from what I understand, is going to be Hal Jordan kind of shepherding in Jon Stewart to being a Green Lantern. The short list, like I mentioned, consists of Tom Cruise, Joel McHale, Bradley Cooper, Armie Hammer, and Jake Gyllenhaal for Hal Jordan.
So there's only two of those that I would even consider.
No.
Can you name the two?
Well, first I forgot one name. Ryan Reynolds is also on this list, and I don't know.
No, you can't do that.
No, that's what I'm saying. So that's why I don't like this story caught fire. And I don't know how credible it is, because why would Ryan Reynolds be on this list? But
why would he do it, and why would they do it? Because then they're almost saying that the first one exists, and they kind of want to forget about that one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no fucking way. But he's on the fucking list. I don't know. But the two that you could see,
yes,
or that you would like to see,
yes,
Jake Gyllenhaal,
yes,
and I guess Bradley Cooper,
yes.
Okay. I think that
the rest of them are a fucking joke.
There's no way Tom Cruise could do it. I don't think he could pull it off. Like, anytime I see Tom Cruise anyways, I think it's just a Mission Impossible movie. No matter what the fucking movie is, it's a Mission Impossible movie. Like, The Mummy, Mission Impossible with a mummy. That's just...
I thought that was a joke. Like, when they announced that, they were considering him to take over The Mummy, I was like, what? That's a joke, but we'll get into that here in a little bit.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think that the best pick would probably be Jake Gyllenhaal because he brings some credibility to it. But
Do you think he would do it?
no, I don't. I think that it's going to be Armie Hammer, and he's going to get another swing at things after fucking up Lone Ranger. So
Wasn't he? Maybe it was before his time, but wasn't he Wasn't he Green Lantern in the? What was his? George Miller, Justice League.
no, he was Batman. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was Batman. Which I don't know. I think I don't know. He's not a great actor, right? So
No, not at all.
So
I mean, Social Network, he was great, but
he had like 2 opportunities in that movie, right? So
but I mean, he was also working with a lot of good people, and it was Aaron Sorkin, so
yeah, absolutely. And so I don't know. We'll see. But I'm gonna guess that it ends up being him out of that list. I couldn't see Joel McHale being Hal Jordan, and
no way.
Bradley Cooper's too good for that at this point. Like, I know he was in the running whenever Ryan Reynolds got it, but he's too good for that at this point. I think it'd be Armie.
I don't know. He did appear in the Limitless TV show, so maybe he's not too good for it.
I don't know. He's also Rocket Raccoon, though. Is there a conflict of interest there?
I don't know.
Anyways, we'll see. This one was interesting, even though it sounded like it got shot down pretty quick by J.K. Rowling. I guess there was a rumor that they had been talking up to the original Harry Potter cast about coming back and doing something a la Force Awakens and kind of creating a new Harry Potter trilogy where they kind of are there.
I thought it was The Cursed Child is what they were talking about.
What I read, they wanted to do a new trilogy, and they wanted to do it like Force Awakens did and bring back older characters to usher in new characters. And they were talking to the cast about that. And apparently J.K. Rowling tweeted out that that's not true. But, I mean, Warner Brothers is sitting on a very lucrative franchise, and, I mean, they're benefiting from Fantastic Beasts right now. But, I mean,
They're so pissed that she ended that book the way that she did.
I mean, let's be honest, she's probably pretty pissed too.
I think she's gonna be all right.
They want some more of that Harry Potter money, and they're trying to figure out how to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if it eventually happens, but I don't know how close it is. Because, I mean, they're not... I'm not seeing the movies, obviously. We've talked about it a few times, but at the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2, doesn't it show what happens to them when they're older?
No, I mean, it shows them older,
yeah,
but it doesn't show what happened. Like, he defeats them. Spoiler alert! He defeats them, and then they kind of cut to like however many years later, and then they're putting their kids on the express. So we don't really know what happens in between.
So yeah, they could do some movies there.
Oh yeah, I mean for sure. I doubt they're going to be that good because I mean. Not that he was ever gonna die in the original movies, but we see him 20, 30 years later in the last movie, so we know nothing that happens in between those two movies is really gonna be all that life threatening because he ends up making it all right.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, Daniel Radcliffe is probably pretty happy, and especially Rupert. Like, that dude's not done anything, but But Emma Watson, she's got to be like, oh, fuck this shit again. Like, she's trying to get some other stuff out there, and I don't know. They'll probably pay him a lot of money, and it'll happen someday. Let's see. There was a Marvel game announced yesterday.
Yeah. That was super anticlimactic.
Yeah, like, I 100% agree. Like, don't put out something that says, save the date. This day at this time, we're going to announce something huge for Marvel. Because everybody's like, oh shit, something movie related. But, it was
well, technically, it kind of is.
It's a game partnership with Square Enix, who does, like, the Final Fantasy games. And they did, like, a little teaser for an Avengers game, which is going to be the first game under the partnership. And it doesn't come out for a while.
Yeah, they're not even I don't even think they're going to start on it for a while.
Yeah, I want to say that it was, like they said, oh, we'll have more information for you in 2018.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? Like, 2017 just started, so.
Yeah.
Very anticlimactic. But, I mean, at the same time, it could be some cool games, but it's so far out that build-up for that announcement was pretty lackluster.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's so weird that they did it. Like, they're just they have so much going on right now that they could have. I don't know. It seemed really weird how they handled it.
No, I agree. Last thing, I think? Yeah, last thing is, of course, Star Wars title.
Yep.
I don't know that we have much that we can say about it because it's just a title, but Episode 8 will be Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Yeah, it's kind of ominous.
Yeah.
I know some people have theorized that maybe that means that Luke's not going to make it out. All right.
I mean, I wasn't going to be surprised if that happened anyways, because at that point, he can come back as a Force ghost. So,
Sure.
like, Mark Hamill can still be involved. But, I mean, Jedi's plural, too. Could refer to Rey and Luke, or who knows? Who gives a shit, man? We'll just wait till December.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, I mean, we've talked about this, and I'm going to sound bitter, but it was the biggest non-story. Like, it was cool. Like, I mean, it is cool
it's a
to
good
find.
title, yeah.
Yes, it's cool to find out what the title is, but the fact that it became so much more than it was, it just kind of bothers me.
Yeah, I agree. There's only so much you can write about 3 words.
Yeah.
You know, it's The Last Jedi, and so, you know, people were talking about, like, well, this is what the other titles meant in each movie, and this is what this could mean, and it's kind of definitely silly at this point.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, but they did the same thing with Force Awakens.
Yeah.
They're going to do the same thing with Episode 9.
Yep.
I mean, that's just the culture we live in, which is great. Don't get me wrong. We wouldn't have a podcast if we didn't have the culture, but it just, stuff like that kind of gets under my skin sometimes.
For sure, man. I agree. And that is all I have for nerd news.
All right. So I'm actually really looking forward to this main topic. It's something that we did last year around this time, and it ended up being something fun that we kind of pointed to the whole year. For those that don't know, each year, I guess we started last year, we do a Rotten Tomatoes draft. For those that didn't listen to the episode last year, we picked 14 films. I think there's 16 this year. And when we just drafted, we went back and forth, and we picked the ones that we thought were going to do well on Rotten Tomatoes. I took a screenshot a week after each film came out. You can find the entire scorecard for last year's film draft on our website, thenerdspodcast.com. Just click on the Rotten Tomatoes film draft scorecard, and you can see all the movies. I'm going to run through them here in a little bit, but you can see for yourself on our website. And there was a bet, which we'll get into the results here in a second, but basically whoever lost had to do something embarrassing at Indie PopCon, and like I said, we'll announce who lost and what that person has to do here in a little bit. But here are the results for our 2016 bet. I'm going to run through them real quick. So Tyler's films were Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which scored in at 29%. The Jungle Book, which was super, super surprising that it did this well. For those that you listened, I kind of railed on it, and I'm a little embarrassed about it, but it got 94%. Captain America Civil War got 89%. Finding Dory was 94%. Star Trek Beyond, which is another surprising one, got 83%, which, I mean, I liked it, but I was surprised by that it did that well. Doctor Strange came in at 90%, and then Rogue One came at 85%, which you average all of those out, and you get 80%.
Man, that's not bad, huh?
No, it's not bad. My first 3 films were the best. I had Kung Fu Panda, which was 80%, Deadpool, which is 84%, 10 Cloverfield Lane, which was 89%.
And at that point, I was pretty nervous.
Yeah, because I think I had the first 3 films that came out, and then you had Dawn of Justice came out March 25th, so my first 3 films had already come out, and they all hit 80.
And then my first one was 29%, which was shit-tastic. So I was not a happy camper.
Unfortunately, the next highest film for me was only 73, which was Ghostbusters. The other films that I had was X-Men Apocalypse, which was only 48%, which killed me because I believe it was either my second or third pick in the draft order. TMNT Out of the Shadows, which was 34%, and then Suicide Squad, which was 26%, which all averages out to 62%, which of course makes Tyler the 2016 Rotten Tomatoes winner.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about it. Like I said, I was really dreading the rest of the year back in March, and things turned around, and hopefully we'll do a repeat in 2017.
So, do you want to announce what you're going to make me do, or?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a cop-out, because when Pat and I were talking about this last year, and we're like, oh, we should do this. This is going to be a lot of fun. Somebody will be punished at Indie PopCon. One of the first things that came to mind for Pat was one of us cosplaying as Slave Leia, whoever loses. And, time went on, the year went on, and we didn't really talk about the punishment too much more. And Pat texted me earlier this week, like, all right, so I lost. What's the punishment going to be? And I think the Slave Leia thing is pretty good. Our first year at Indie PopCon, there was a dude walking around in a Slave Leia bikini with a cigarette and hanging out of his mouth and aviators on, and his cosplay was a huge hit. So I just want you to be a huge hit, man, and bring a lot of traffic to our booth. So Slave Leia it is.
Yeah, so I've already bought the costume. It does not fit, so that's gonna be interesting. I have to make some altercations because it's not a man's costume, obviously. So it is not very dick friendly. Like all my shit, yeah, all my shit is kind of crunched in there. It's not great. Plus the chest piece doesn't really fit. My boobs are not big enough apparently. But yeah, so it'll be interesting. I think I'm going to end up doing it Friday, which is one of the shorter days in Indie PopCon. But yeah, so definitely be looking forward to that, or be dreading that. I don't know.
What I might do is, all the cosplay girls that should go to these cons always have like prints available, and they'll sign them and take pictures with you or whatever the fuck. I might just like snap some photos of you with my phone and print them out, and we'll sell them in quotes.
Yeah,
mostly just give them away.
Yeah, for sure.
Not that anybody would want it. No offense.
That hurt my feelings a little bit.
It could be the most attractive man on the planet, and I doubt anybody would want him in a Slave Leia bikini, so.
Well, I feel like you just called me the most attractive man in the world.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened there.
Okay, so anyways, now that I'm uncomfortable. So moving on to 2017. I am, again, embarrassed that I lost in a game that I literally created first time around, but hopefully that turns around in 2017. I'll just go through the films that we picked. Obviously, we wanted to pick a lot of nerd-related films. A lot of these movies we'll probably end up reviewing on the podcast, and that always kind of adds to the fun, because then we can kind of bust each other's balls if this was your film or that film or whatever, and we kind of... that adds to the review. I'm just going to go down. I went by the IMDb release date. The first film is Lego Batman, which is released on February 10th. Then we have Logan, like we talked about earlier, comes out on March 3rd. Kong Skull Island comes out on the 10th of March. And then Beauty and the Beast comes out on the 17th of March. Power Rangers, March 24th. Then we have the first real big one of the year is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 comes out May 5th. Then we have the Guy Ritchie King Arthur movie, King Arthur Legend of the Sword, May 12th. Then we have Ridley Scott Alien/Prometheus sequel, Alien Covenant, May 19th. We have Wonder Woman, June 2nd. We have that just awful Mummy reboot, The Mummy, June 9th, which is actually my birthday, so I will probably be seeing that on my birthday, unfortunately. Cars 3 comes out June 16th. Spider-Man Homecoming comes out July 7th. War for the Planet of the Apes comes out July 14th. The Dark Tower comes out July 28th. It comes out September 8th. Blade Runner 2049 and Kingsman Golden Circle actually both come out on October 6th. Then we have Thor Ragnarok comes out November 3rd. Justice League November 17th. And then finally Star Wars The Last Jedi comes out December 15th.
Yeah, so a lot of movies.
Yeah, we have a few more than we did last year.
Yeah, the stakes are higher.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
I don't know, man. Hindsight's 2020, and like I look back on 2016, I'm like, man, I'm just so smart, and I was so good at that. But then I'm sure I felt this way when we did the draft last year. But looking at this list of 20 movies, like,
is it 20?
Yeah,
I thought it was only 18.
I don't know. Maybe I counted wrong, but yeah. I don't know. It's a tough list. I don't know what's going to do well on Rotten.
Yeah.
I want to say this year's tougher than last year, but
I think last year I took some notes, but it was so tough, and I just decided to forego that. So obviously it didn't really work for me last year. So I'm just kind of gonna go by my gut and talk about. Well, obviously we have the trailers to kind of go by and who wrote the movies and who's directing the movies. But I mean, this is a lot tougher than you would think it would be.
For sure.
We didn't discuss this beforehand, but I'm going to go first because you got to go first last year.
I thought it was going to be the exact opposit. I thought, I won. I go first.
Nah, you don't get to go first. I guess 2 years in a row.
For fantasy football, whoever got last picks drafts first. So losers first. That's correct, I guess.
I actually thought about doing, because you mentioned fantasy football. I was like, well, it's kind of shitty that the person that went second also goes last. But then I was like, well, we could do a snake draft, but with 2 people that doesn't really work because then everybody's just going twice. So we're just going to keep it the way we did it last year, except for I'm going to go first. For those that have been listening to the podcast for a while and kind of know me personally, you know what my first pick is going to be. I actually considered not picking this.
This is kind of sad.
Because I was like, well, Tyler's going to expect me to pick this one first. Maybe I should get one that maybe I should go Star Wars first because I'm pretty sure that's going to be his first pick, but I also want that movie. So, but I ultimately would be crushed if you picked War for the Planet of the Apes before I got to it. So I'm just going to go ahead since I have the first pick and just go with War for the Planet of the Apes. Matt Reeves made the best Planet of the Apes movie. My favorite movie of all time, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. He knows what works in that universe, and even though I did really enjoy Rise for the Planet of the Apes, Dawn just completely blew it out of the water, and I just really, really cannot be more excited for this movie. I think the one criticism that I've had, and it's such a small nitpick for Dawn, is the fact that it's not really a human story. The humans don't really play too big of a role. And just judging by the trailer for War for Planet of the Apes, it seems like this is a little bit more of a human story, or at the very least, they play equal parts in the story. Dawn was great, but it was definitely Caesar's story. It was definitely the apes' story. And it seems like War for the Planet of the Apes is the humans and the apes play a much more equal role in the film. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. Woody Harrelson's in this movie, and he's great. So I can't imagine a world where this movie is going to be bad. They already have Rise and Dawn, which are just a phenomenal base, and then I'm definitely looking forward to this movie.
Yeah, I mean, if history's any indication, Rise of the Planet of the Apes did 83%, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes did 90%. So if they stick the landing, it'll be right there between 80 and 90, I bet. So not a bad pick, even though I would not have picked it first. My first pick is a sequel to a movie that did 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
See, that I was really kind of going back and forth whether you were going to pick Star Wars first or Guardians.
Yeah, I mean, it's Guardians. I don't know. Episode 8 has the potential to face a backlash, I think, after Rogue One was so good, and Force Awakens did really well initially, and it still holds a really good percentage on Rotten Tomatoes, but as it was out in theaters and as people kind of let it marinate, they were like, wow, this is really just like a new hope. So I don't know. Well,
we take the screenshot literally right after, so as long as it gets initial.
So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not against drafting Star Wars if it's still on the table. And
it won't be. If you pick Star Wars, I was picking Guardians. If you pick Guardians, which you did, I'm picking Star Wars.
So, anyways, no, I have high hopes for Guardians too. Like, that trailer looks amazing. Everyone's excited for it. Everybody's going crazy about Baby Groot. I just don't see how it's not at least 80%.
Oh yeah, for sure. It looks really fun. Like, James Gunn came out with that weird trailer, and I say that in quotes, and people were like, what? Like, I mean, they were a little hesitant, and I was definitely one of them, because not that I really try to judge a ton on trailers, but I was just a little bit skeptical of what was going on, but then they came out with the official trailer, and I was like, okay, there we go. It's going to be Guardians. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun like the first one was. So, yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like I said, if you didn't pick it, I was going to pick it. So, I figured you were going to pick Star Wars, but that's fine. Since I didn't do well last year, my strategy kind of this year, because I'm going to put a little bit of thought into it, but I kind of overanalyzed a little bit last year, and that's why I ended up with Apocalypse, because I thought, well, Bryan Singer and X-Men, I've gone through my thought process for picking that movie, and obviously that didn't work out well for me. It's definitely, it's a hard game, and so I've decided to change it up a little bit, and I'm going to try to pick movies that I want to root for, because I got stuck with fucking Suicide Squad last year. So I'm going to pick Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. I mean, it's Star Wars. I disagree. I don't think that there's going to be a backlash.
I mean, I absolutely hope not.
I think they're kind of doing it the right way. They're picking these kind of young, not necessarily up and coming. I mean, I don't know, because it seems weird saying J.J. Abrams is young and up and coming. He's been around forever, but they're just kind of, I feel like they're picking really not necessarily household names, and especially with the following Force Awakens. And I really like Rian Johnson a lot. He did some Breaking Bad episodes. He did Looper, which is a weird movie for me to like, just because I'm not a fan of time travel, but I think it definitely works in that movie. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. The episode that I'm afraid of is episode 9, because I had my problems with Jurassic World, and I don't think that he's going to do a very good job with that movie. So that's the one that I'm nervous about, but I think this one will still kind of ride high.
Yeah, I'm hoping so as well.
For sure.
Unless it comes down to The Wire in December. I'm going to be rooting against Star Wars, which would be fun. All right, so I am going to stick with a theme here, and my second pick is Spider-Man Homecoming.
Okay. That was also going to be my last pick.
Marvel just constantly knocks it out of the park. I think that there's a slight risk with picking this movie because Spider-Man's been done twice before, but I think that he's riding high after his appearance in Civil War. There's a lot of talent involved. You got Robert Downey Jr. popping up in it, and everybody loves him, of course, and Michael Keaton is playing the Vulture. Like, you couldn't got a better actor to play a villain. So I just think that it's all going to come together, and it's going to be adored by all. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm glad that it's on my team.
Yeah, that one hurts a little bit. I definitely wanted that one, but like I said, I had to
I'm just going to pick movies that I know you're really looking forward to and make this year.
I probably shouldn't have shared that information. That wasn't very strategic of me, but so I don't know where I'm going to go with this, because like I said, I didn't really take a ton of notes, but you definitely stole that one from me, because I wanted that one pretty bad. Where should I go now? I feel like I need a safe pick.
Oh no! Don't. So, all right, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm debating between Lego Batman and Cars 3. I think I'm going to go with Lego Batman, because I really, really want this movie to work, and I really want this to be good. I love the Lego movie. It was a shame that it didn't get nominated for an Oscar, because it was far and away the best animated movie that year, and they're I feel like they're using that same formula. Like, I was a little bit nervous when I first heard about this movie, and then when it came out that it was going to be released in February, I was again a little bit nervous, but from all of the promotional material, it looks like they're basically doing the same thing. And normally I would say, well, that's a bad thing. You want to switch it up a little bit. But the Lego movie was so fucking charming and it's just so much fun that I'm definitely looking forward to kind of going back into that world and just focusing on Batman. Because I obviously love the character. I loved him in Lego, the Lego movie. And so I'm just really, really looking forward to this movie.
Yeah, all the build up to this movie has just been hilarious. Whether it's the Chevy commercials, fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
The trailers and just all the promo stuff has been great. And I think that Batman's such a big pop culture figure now to put out a movie like this that kind of is a satire and kind of pokes fun at the character and his rogues gallery and so on and so forth. I think it's gonna hit. So at least I hope it does. I think it looks hilarious.
Was this the movie that you were afraid that I was gonna pick?
No, it's not.
Okay.
And it wasn't Cars 3 either.
Okay.
So my next pick is Beauty and the Beast.
That's what I figured, and I'm not gonna Jungle Book this one.
So here's my thought process. I'm looking forward to it. I want to root for this movie. The one downfall could be that the animated film is so beloved. Like with Jungle Book, I love the Jungle Book, but it's not the crown jewel of Disney films. So Jon Favreau could do what he wanted with the story and people were okay with it. People love Beauty and the Beast so much that I could see this getting some backlash if they don't do it right. But I did do a little research and I went back and I saw what Alice in Wonderland, what Cinderella, and of course what Jungle Book, what their live action movies have done on Rotten Tomatoes. And the only one that sucked is, I believe, Alice in Wonderland's sequel, which doesn't surprise me. I think this movie will hit. I think, if anything, the music and the choreography that they're putting into it is gonna be its savior. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I'm a huge Disney nerd, and I'm probably a Disney nerd, a rare Disney nerd that is excited about the live action movies they're doing. So I'm looking forward to it. It comes out in March, and hopefully it does better than my March movie from last year, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. So we'll see. Yeah,
I'm trying. I know it probably doesn't make for an exciting episode, but I'm trying to pump my brakes a little bit and not to Jungle Book anything because I don't want to create another sound clip. I don't know. This movie, I never was a huge fan of the animated version. I know my sister was a big fan and she wanted to watch it all the time. And that may have added to my, not dislike of this movie because it's a fine movie. The songs are really good, but I don't know. I'm not looking forward to it. I mean, I know I'll end up seeing it. Maybe we'll review it on the podcast. I don't know. It depends on what also comes out that week. But it's not my thing, the live action movies. The Jungle Book was good. I enjoyed it quite a lot. Obviously, it made my top 10 we talked about last week. But other than that, I really haven't been a huge fan of the live action Disney movies.
Cool, man. So we are on to your pick.
Well, logically, you would think if I was going between Lego Batman and Cars 3 that I picked Lego Batman, you didn't pick Cars 3, so you would think that I was going to pick Cars 3. I decided.
That's what I thought.
I looked up Cars 2.
God damn it.
And it's 39%.
I know, I just did that when you were talking about that. I'm like, I'm not fucking taking Cars 3.
Okay, so now my goal is to make you take Cars 3 like you made me take Suicide Squad last year.
Shit.
You didn't even spit on Suicide Squad as you shoved it up my ass last year. Anyways, I don't know why I got super, super graphic right there. I'm going to take Logan.
Okay. Yeah, have it.
Really?
I'm going to help you. I have it.
So, like I said, I just recently read Old Man Logan, which is supposed to be the inspiration to this movie, which, again, I don't know how it exactly is going to really fit into that particular comic. But like I said, I really enjoyed that comic book. So even if they take a little bit of that comic book, I think it's going to be a really interesting movie. I looked up who is actually directing it, James Mangold, who directed Walk the Line, Girl Interrupted, and The Wolverine. Really like Walk the Line. I mean, I think I was a little too young for Girl Interrupted, but it was a good movie. Like, everybody loved it when it came out. And I liked the Wolverine more than most people did. I mean, it's got a 69%, which is not bad on Rotten Tomatoes. As far as we're concerned, it's not the greatest score, but it's still fresh. But, yeah, I mean, Walk the Line was amazing. So he definitely knows how to direct and tell stories. So I think this movie's going to be a lot better than you do, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it has the potential to do really well, but I don't know. I think that Apocalypse was, if it was any indication on where people kind of sit with the X-Men universe. Of course, I guess you could argue Deadpool did really well, but the only thing
Deadpool wasn't really part of that yet.
Yeah, the only thing I think might save this movie is the nostalgia with it being Hugh Jackman's last go at it.
Sure. I mean, but do you think that's going to work with critics? It's going to work with us, fanboys, but I mean, what matters is the critics.
It could. I think that it might be fresh, but I don't think it's going to be extremely fresh. We'll see.
All right, cool.
Great. There's a soundbite for you. My next pick, just keeping with the Disney side of things, is going to be Thor Ragnarok.
Damn.
So the first Thor movie was rated in the 70s. Thor 2 was in the 60s, which, I mean, that movie wasn't great.
Which is surprising.
I mean, that's still fresh. Taika Waititi, obviously.
I'm actually kind of glad that you picked it so I didn't have to butcher his name.
But, you know, I've talked about on a few episodes of the podcast now how much of a fan I am of his work so far. I think that he's going to bring some humor and some freshness to the Thor world. And not only that, I mean, you have Hulk and you have Planet Hulk, and this is going to be leading up to 2018, which is going to see Infinity War, right? So the first part of that movie. And I think that a lot more is going to go on in this one. Cate Blanchett's in it. She's a fantastic actress. I just don't think that the other two Thor movies are any indication of what this one's going to do. So it's a bit of a risk, but I think that it's going to play out in the end. And I'm excited for it. I mean, I wouldn't have said that if you would have asked me after Thor: The Dark World if I was going to be excited for another Thor movie, because that movie was definitely underwhelming, but they managed to make it interesting with the director they brought on and the storyline that they're adapting. So, yeah,
this was going to be my next pick.
I'm sorry, man.
For pretty much every reason you just listed, I think it's going to be a bounce back for sure. The first one, not that great. And the second one definitely dipped, which is disappointing. Thor movies are by far the weakest link of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and so I'm definitely excited to kind of see them be better. I'm hoping that they're better, but now I'm not hoping so hard. So my next pick is going to be Kingsman, the Golden Circle. This movie, when it came out, the original a couple of years ago, it was a movie that I had zero desire to go see, and I think it was you, Tyler, that was like, well, it's based on this comic book. We read a lot of comic books on the podcast, so I think we should go see it and review it. At the time, we didn't really have a whole lot, and I kind of reluctantly was like, okay, we'll review it. We don't have a whole lot going on right now. And I absolutely loved it. It was a lot of fun. It kind of came out of nowhere, like I said. And as long as it kind of keep that same tone, that James Bond kind of satire, tongue-in-cheek sort of thing, I think it could do really, really well. I really hope that Colin Firth's character doesn't come back in a substantial way. It sounds like he's going to, unfortunately. So I'm a little bit nervous about this movie, but I think as long as, like I said, it stays fun and it kind of has that same tone, I think it's going to do well.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this movie.
Your voice doesn't sound like it.
No, I am. I'm a little nervous for it though, so I'm glad that you're rolling the dice on this one.
Like I said, I'm just picking movies I want to root for, man. And it probably come back to haunt me, and I'll probably be Slave Leia 2 years in a row. But yeah, by then I'll probably get the costume a little tailored to my liking.
So I'm gonna go back on what I said earlier, and I'm gonna take Cars 3.
Okay, cool.
I don't know. I just don't think that Pixar is gonna fuck up twice in a row with the Cars movies. I don't think that it's gonna be a smash hit, but
the first one's only like 74 too.
Yeah, Out of the movies that are left, I think this is more. this
Yeah,
is.
there's some real garbage.
There is a lot of stuff left that is going to. Like
You're not gonna fuck me with Justice League.
There's probably some surprises in there, but I'm not going to gamble just yet with this pick. So I'm going to stick with what I've done so far, which is pick Disney movies because I think they pay off reviewers. And I'm going to go with Cars 3.
They basically own everything, so most of the time they just own the magazine they're writing for at this point. Yeah, I don't really like the franchise. I thought it being Pixar, that's why I was kind of considering it as a safe pick, but then I checked out some of the past scores, and it kind of aligns with what I feel about the franchise. So I'm pretty glad that you kind of took it off the table, because it would have been tempting here in a couple of picks to take it, just because, like you said, it's getting kind of a little bit into garbage time, sort of.
And there's still like 10 movies left.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing with all these movies. We picked a lot more than we did last year, so there's a lot of kind of garbage to pick through here a little bit.
You know, you pick your backup running back, and, you know, the starter gets hurt, and he goes off for tons of yards. So one of these movies that's left is going to surprise critics and surprise us, but what's it going to be?
Well, hopefully for me, it's Alien Covenant. Again, I'm just kind of picking the movies that I want to root for. I love the franchise. Obviously, Alien 3 and Resurrection were disappointing. Alien 3 being better than Resurrection. But I'm glad that Ridley Scott's kind of back into the franchise. I liked Prometheus more than most people did. It's surprising because I hated it. Well, hate may be a strong word. I really disliked it when I saw it in theaters. I remember seeing it with my wife and my mom, and I just was like railing on it afterwards. Like, to walk to the car, I was just like, that movie was garbage. And then I saw it again, and I was like, it's not that bad. And then I bought it on Blu-ray, and I was like, okay, I get this movie now. And I actually just watched it last Shocktober, and I love it. Like, I've really kind of attached myself to it, which is surprising. I did a complete 180 from the first time I saw it. And so I'm really excited for this movie. I think it's going to be good. I like the fact that it's Alien Covenant now, so it's definitely going to tie much more into the Alien franchise. And obviously Ridley Scott has done a great job. He created the franchise, so I think he's going to do a great job with this movie.
I'm looking forward to this movie as well. I was one of the people that walked out of the Prometheus movie and was just really happy with what I saw. And I need to watch it again because I haven't seen it in a couple years now. But I'm very excited for Alien Covenant, and I don't think Ridley Scott's going to mess it up. So. But hopefully he does, I guess. I don't know.
That's the weird thing. That's the flip side of this draft is, like, last year, it came, not that it necessarily came down to the wire, but it was like, I was doing the math of how bad Rogue One had to be for me to win, and I was just like, what am I doing? Like, I'm rooting against a Star Wars movie. So, I mean, there certainly is a flip side to this, but, it sucks, I guess. I don't know.
So my pick is going to be The Dark Tower.
Okay, cool.
So I'm looking forward to this movie. I look forward to any Stephen King's, even any movie based on Stephen King's work, even though the track record's not fantastic. As for this movie, there's a lot of talent involved, just between Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey. So we kind of said we're in garbage time. Like, there's definitely a chance this movie could not hit, but I'm looking forward to it. I think that it's going to be a cool movie, and I don't know. That's why I drafted it.
So, I'm super nervous about this movie and the other Stephen King movie.
Yeah, I think that out of the two Stephen King movies that we had on this list, this one has better potential.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the talent behind it is a little bit better. I listened to the book. I mentioned that before. I wasn't blown away by it. I know that a lot of people talk about his Dark Tower saga as kind of being the best work he's ever done. I just didn't see it in that first book. Now, there's like 8 books, I think, 8 or 9 books. So obviously I kind of just scratched the surface. But I just wasn't blown away by it, and so I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know exactly how this movie's gonna kind of follow. If it's I've heard different things. Like there's gonna be this movie, and then they're gonna make it into a TV show, and so I don't know how much the movie's gonna cover. As far as obviously, it's not gonna cover the first book. Like it's not gonna work like that. So I'm curious to see how much they're gonna take from each book or what they're gonna do. But yeah, I'm definitely nervous about this and it.
Yep, we'll see.
All right, so I'm going to surprise you with my next pick.
Yeah, I know what you're picking. God damn
it's not going to be Justice League, but it's going to be the other DC
God
movie. Yep. I'm actually surprisingly excited for Wonder Woman. I think it's going to be the bright spot in the DC. What are they calling it? It's not the DC Cinematic Universe. It's what they had a name for it.
I think it's DCEU, but I don't know what the E stands for. I don't know.
Okay, it doesn't. Entertainment?
No, I might be wrong.
Okay, it doesn't matter. But anyways, probability tells you that they can't keep making bad movies. Like, eventually they're going to hit on one of these movies. And all the promotional material makes this movie look really cool. I like the World War II or it was at World War I. I can't remember. It's one of those.
It's World War I.
Yeah. And so I'm a history buff, so I definitely dig that. Like I said, I don't think that they can keep making bad movies. She was one of the few bright spots of Dawn of Justice. I enjoyed her character. Obviously, she doesn't play a huge role, so that's a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit nervous about that. Her getting her own movie, maybe the bright spot of Dawn of Justice doesn't play very well when you stretch that out into its own movie, but it's directed by a woman, so maybe that kind of works in its favor. So I'm definitely surprisingly excited for this movie.
Yeah, I held off on drafting this for forever because I figured I could get it on the cheap because I'm like, there's no way he's going to draft either of the DC movies. So I was holding off on Wonder Woman, which I think is going to do really well. I think it's going to be good, and I think it's going to do well with critics because it's like the first big female-led superhero movie, and that means a lot. So I was hoping to get it on my squad, but it is not now. So fantastic.
Yep.
But you know what is on my team?
You don't even sound that excited for it.
Kong Skull Island.
Oh, that was going to be my next pick.
Yeah, we're getting into trash time, for sure. This movie could go either way. What's intriguing about it is there is an amazing cast in this movie.
Yeah.
Like Tom Hiddleston, John Goodman, John C. Reilly, Brie Larson, just tons and tons of people. So I think that will do well. This is part of the new monster universe with King Kong. This is obviously King Kong with Godzilla.
Yeah.
And Godzilla did fairly well on Rotten Tomatoes. So hopefully this follows suit. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope I enjoy it. I hope the critics enjoy it as well. So, Kong Skull Island.
Yeah, and the cast is you're getting to a point where you're just kind of picking for bright spots, and the cast was definitely a bright spot. I want this movie to do well. I really liked Peter Jackson's King Kong. I think that's a really underrated movie. I enjoyed it quite a lot. There's actually an Ultimate Edition that's coming out on Blu-ray soon, and I've already pre-ordered it. I'm looking forward to it. I like the idea of King Kong. I really kind of like the idea of Godzilla versus King Kong. I think that'll be cool. Godzilla was a little underwhelming, but I kind of had high hopes for that after the trailer looked really cool. And then I'm just not a fan of Aaron Tyler Johnson. I just don't think he's a very good actor. But I really want this movie to do well, and so that just builds into the next one. I don't know. It just, like I said, the cast looks good, but I don't know. I'm super nervous. I want it to be good. John C. Reilly in the trailer looks pretty funny. He has some pretty funny lines. I have a feeling that might be the only funny parts of this whole movie, so we'll see. But like you said, the cast is just phenomenal.
For sure, dude.
All right, well, that kind of puts me in a weird spot because that was going to be my next pick. So I guess the next pick I will make is The Mummy. I'm just kidding. That's not going to be.
I was like, oh, wow.
That's not going to be my pick. I don't necessarily have a ton to say, but out of the other movies, I think this might do the best. Blade Runner 2049. Honestly, it's embarrassing for me to admit this. I've never seen the original Blade Runner, even though there's like 15 different versions of this movie. I have not seen any of those versions. And so I really don't have a ton to talk about, with this movie. Like I said, I think it's the best one, of the movies remaining. So I'm going to go ahead and pick it, but I don't really have a whole lot to say about it.
All right.
You haven't seen this movie either, have you?
I've not seen Blade Runner, and like I have it on Blu-ray, and I keep wanting to put it in and just knock it out, and I haven't, so I have no excuses. But I will see it this year before that movie comes out, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Sorry, I am trying to pick between these last 5 movies, and it's tough. Oh shit. I guess I'm gonna go with King Arthur.
Really? I thought it would be the next one that you picked.
It is not. It is King Arthur.
Well, obviously.
I don't know it.
I'm just trying to provide commentary. That's what we're doing here.
I don't know. There's been so many King Arthur movies at this point, right? So
it'll be beautiful because it's Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, I think that's what it has going for it that I'm excited about, is that it's a Guy Ritchie film, even though, what was the last movie he did wasn't really
The Man from U.N.C.L.E., but it was beautiful.
Yeah, but I don't know how well received it was by critics, so I don't know that you can go off of Guy Ritchie's name necessarily anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to see this whether, if we review it on the podcast, if we don't, if it was part of the draft, if it wasn't, this is a movie I would see. I'm hoping it's good.
Yeah, kind of behind the scenes a little bit. Like, I had picked out, I think it was like 16 movies, and you were like, oh, well, let's add some more, and you suggested this movie, and I was like, really? I had almost no desire to see this movie. And you suggested it, and I was like, really? That just doesn't look interesting because there's been so many of them. I mean, I was interested in seeing it because it was a Guy Ritchie movie, but I want to see a Guy Ritchie movie that's a Guy Ritchie movie, like his old, like, British gangster types of movies.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't excite me now that he's doing all of these, sort of big blockbuster type of movies. It does kind of make me a little bit more excited for this movie because recently, and I guess this didn't make the cut for Nerd News, the Flash, the Flash movie, recently they basically just said the script, they're trashing the script, and the guy that wrote this movie just got hired to rewrite the Flash script. So they obviously, I don't know who's doing this movie, or, I mean, obviously Warner Brothers is doing Flash, but I don't know who's doing King Arthur, so maybe they've seen a draft of either this script, or maybe even seen an early cut of King Arthur, and maybe they liked it enough to hire this guy. I don't know how that process works, but it does make me a little bit more excited for this movie that they just went ahead and hired that guy for the Flash.
That makes me excited about the Flash because I was not excited about a Seth Grahame-Smith script, so yeah. Either way.
I forgot that he wrote that.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah, apparently not. Apparently they were not very happy with it, so they basically just are starting over from what I read. Man. I think I have an idea what you're going to pick next.
I figured that out of the 4 movies that were left, there was one that you were just going to take. I didn't think that it was going to be a choice for you.
I'll just take it.
That's what I figured.
I was between 3 different movies, and it's Stephen King, so I'm going to take it. Like, at this point, I feel like we started with King Kong. We were just like, let's pick like this little thing that we can kind of cling to. And with it's just that it's based on a Stephen King novel, which is fantastic. I really like that novel a lot. One of the longest movies, one of the longest books I've ever read in my life. And I remember reading it in like the 4th grade. So I was super, super proud of myself, when I read that book.
It is fucking long.
Well, it's actually not a movie. It's a miniseries that they cut together for a movie.
I meant the book is long.
Oh.
I got
but I had to be a douchebag and correct you.
No, I got the book for Christmas, and it is thick.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
So,
but that's pretty much it. I actually don't think this is going to be a very good adaptation, but it's Stephen King, so that's what I'm clinging to at this point.
Cool. I'm looking forward to it, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
You could definitely tell by just like the the inflection in our voices that we're like trying hard to be excited for some of these movies.
That movie went through developmental hell. So
oh yeah, for sure.
Hopefully, the person, I don't even know who's ended up directing it at this point, but hopefully they do something with it because it's good source material.
For sure.
Let's see. The smart man would roll the dice on Power Rangers, but I'm not going to be the smart man. I'm going to go with my heart, and I'm going to draft the Justice League, so it is not the last movie.
I was between Power Rangers and it, and I considered Justice League, but I also didn't want to be stuck with 2 DC movies, because there's no way that 2 of them are going to be good this year. So, I mean, what's your rationale?
My rationale.
You're going with your heart?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, like, there's been a lot that's come out, and they're like, oh, Jeff Johns has helmed it, everything, starting with Wonder Woman, and he's going to course correct, and people have seen bits and pieces of Justice League, and it looks amazing, or not amazing, but it looks a lot better. It looks like they've course corrected from Batman v Superman, and they've learned from their mistakes, and all that's fine and good, and the optimist in me wants to believe that, but I just don't think, like, it could hit with me all day long, but I don't think it's going to hit with critics. If I learned anything from Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman, I think Wonder Woman will, because of it being so female-driven, and that being, like, a first for the superhero genre, but I don't think that this is going to hit quite as well, and it'll probably be better than Batman v Superman. I'm sure they did learn from some of their mistakes, but I think that the DC universe is maybe just a little too far out there for moviegoers and for critics. So maybe it works better on page, except for characters like Batman that are rooted in reality. So we'll see, but it's on my squad.
Yeah, like I said, I a part of me almost chose this, but then I was like, "There's no way I'm going to have 2 DC movies on my Rotten Tomatoes." I definitely just might as well go ahead and get the Slave Leia fitted better for next year's Indie PopCon. But yeah, you're gonna get stuck with the Mummy because I'm picking Power Rangers. I don't know. I want this movie to do well, even though I personally, obviously, by picking it last, I do not think it's gonna do well. But I want it to, because there's a huge part of nerd culture that loves the Power Rangers. I know a lot of people that love the Power Rangers like I love TMNT.
Yeah.
And they're just waiting for a good Power Rangers movie, and they haven't gotten it yet. And I think this might be the closest they might get, because it looks like it might be a little bit more character-driven. I don't want to say it's more grounded, because they do kind of have superpowers. They kind of have there's a Chronicle feel to it. But I think it looks interesting. I think it could surprise people, or it could be garbage. I mean, that's why it's left. That's why it's one of the last 2 movies. But I think I might have lucked out with this one. I definitely did not want the Mummy.
Well, I have the Mummy.
Yep.
And I think that there's a reason that this movie went last. I don't know that looking at our list, that would have been my guess for what would have went last, but it makes sense. Like, chances are, like, I think that I'm optimistic, like, that it will do like 50%.
That is its ceiling, man. I haven't done any research, like I said, but I would be really surprised. I know the Mummy franchise was popular, but I'd be really surprised if it did well with critics.
Yeah, I just think the fact that the leading person in it is Tom Cruise makes it I don't know why. Like, I don't disrespect Tom Cruise or anything, but to me, him being in this movie makes it a joke. And I don't know why I feel that way, but I mean, it is how I see things. And I believe that, I didn't realize this because I have not seen the trailer for it, but I believe Russell Crowe's in this movie is Dr. Jekyll.
I literally know nothing about this movie other than Tom Cruise is in it.
There's no way it can be good. But
so
I'm living on a prayer.
I literally just looked this up. The first Mummy, 56%, and that is the highest it was. The franchise was.
In all fairness, though, like,
cool. I mean, well, I guess not quite suddenly. It's Mummy Returns is 47, and then Tomb of the Dragon, is that what it's called? I don't know.
Yeah, that's
It's
only
12%. It was
12%.
Yeah, apparently it was a garbage movie.
In all fairness, I will say that I would take Tom Cruise over Brendan Fraser, though.
Russell Crowe is in this movie as Dr. Henry Jekyll. So you are correct about that. So there's no fucking way this movie's gonna be good. I will Jungle Book this movie. This movie is gonna be garbage.
Fingers crossed.
The only way that movie could be worse is if they made Russell Crowe sing. Because he is a garbage singer. Oh man.
So yeah, I'm like looking at my picks and like at the top of my list, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, oh yeah, that might be, oh yeah, it gets rough towards the end, man.
But we all have, we both have a couple of rough picks there because again, we did a lot more movies than we did last year, and this went a lot longer than I thought it was going to. But I mean, it was a fun discussion. So you want to go ahead and move on to nerd favorite?
Yeah. So just really quick to wrap up the episode, we always do a nerd favorite where one of us take turns asking the other what their favorite blank is. My nerd favorite this week has absolutely no ties to anything we talked about in this episode. It was just something that I was honestly thinking about at work the other day. I was thinking about Super Smash Brothers and how much I loved playing that game on Nintendo 64, and the Nintendo Switch is coming out soon, and I might have to get one whenever the first Smash Brothers game comes out because those games are so much fun. And I know that you're a fan of those games as well, so I was thinking of, like, we've never played it together. So everybody
I would destroy you. I'm really, really good at this game.
No, I've not played it since Wii, the original Wii. So
I would murder you.
All right, I'm glad we got it out of the way that a game that you actively play, that a game as opposed to me not actively playing it, that you would beat me at it. But that's fine. Anyways, I was curious, like, who your favorite character to play as is. So mine is Samus.
Okay.
From Metroid Prime, which is a game series I've never played any of, but for whatever reason I took to playing as her whenever the game came out, and whenever I was playing on Wii, I stuck with her, and I don't know what it was about that character necessarily, but I always had luck with her, and she was a lot of fun to play, and it made me want to play Metroid games. And I'm surprised they don't really put them out anymore, because it seemed to be like a big, Nintendo title that they could kind of mooch off of, but for sure, for me, it was always and will always be Samus.
For me, I'm gonna go the bitch route, and I'm literally gonna pick like one of the only characters that has been banned from tournament play because he's just ridiculously strong. He's basically Bo Jackson in Techno Bowl. As Meta Knight, I just destroy with him. He's just ridiculously strong. He's super fast, and his aerial attack is just ridiculous. He has this drill attack that I just destroy with. It's ridiculous. It's either between him or King DDD, which is this big penguin character that has a huge hammer, and I again just destroy with that guy. So it's Meta Knight, but second would be King DDD.
Cool. I'm not familiar with the first character you said. So who was it?
Meta Knight, I believe.
Was he on?
He's Kirby. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know you were talking.
Yeah, he's a Kirby villain.
I didn't realize he's been banned from tournament play.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the most recent, or I know it was a few years ago, so it wouldn't have been the most recent Smash Brothers, but I think maybe the one for the Wii. Okay. He was banned from tournament play because he's just ridiculously good. I know he's ridiculously good in the newest one as well. So apparently they didn't fix that.
So you were bragging about how much you would slay me at this game.
Oh, I could take like the Wii Fit trainer and destroy you.
And then you say, "Oh, my favorite character is the one that's banned from tournament play."
Yeah, because I murder with him, but
apparently everybody does.
But I mean, come on. I would beat you pretty bad.
If you're trying to get me to play Smash Bros. With you, it's for sure never going to happen now.
So, do I have a better shot at getting you to play Madden with me or Super Smash Brothers?
Madden.
Okay.
But I'm not going to play Madden with you either.
Okay, good to know. All right, so that is it for episode 126, I think, of the Nerds You're Looking For podcast. As always, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. They're both at the Nerds Podcast. Like us on Facebook, Follow us on Google+. Vote for us for Podcast of the Month at podcastland.com. You can comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Twitch channel, which Tyler does a weekly stream Monday at 9 p.m. Central. Apparently, he's not going to stream Super Smash Brothers anytime soon. You can also subscribe, rate, review us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, basically any podcatcher you use, we're on it. You can also email us at thenerdsyou'relooking4@gmail.com. For Patrick Kuhn,
Tyler Hunt.
we are the nerds you're looking for. Take it easy, guys.
Later, guys.